So, good evening, everybody. I'm Michael Pogson. I've been, Kath Bellamy would normally be chairing this meeting, but she's asked me to step in and chair this meeting due to her feeling a bit under the weather still and a bit hard work from the COVID. So, first of all, before we start, has any of the other councillors got any objections to me chairing this meeting?
No.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Judith. Okay, then. I think Julie's saying something, but she's muted.
Mute.
Judith, welcome.
Hi there. I just don't seem to be getting myself organised here, but anyhow, we'll put it on. Don't worry.
Okie doke, thank you. So, if there's no objections to me chairing the meeting, I will carry on. So, we've got public question time, and then we have someone from Kirklees to on an item on its own further down the menu. So, I'll crack on with. Sorry, I didn't see who entered the room first. So, looking at my cameras, I've got June McLean first in order for myself, and from the Business Association. Is that right, June?
That's right, yes.
Welcome, and your 3 minutes starts now.
All right, okay. The reason that I'm on the call really is because Honley Business Association has had CCTV in Honley, throughout Honley for 4.5 years now. We paid for those cameras out of funding that we raised from the village, and also a lottery grant that I applied for. So we haven't actually had any funding from HVCP, you lot, HVPC at all for our cameras. The results of the cameras over the last 4.5 years is that it's actually picked up 46 crimes. And out of those, there was 19 thefts and 13 traffic accidents, and 8 were vandalism, and 5 were violence, and 1 was a missing person. The CCTV has actually given evidence on 50% of those cases. So on 23 of those cases, the police have gone away with more information, and even registration numbers and things like that, to be able to help them to either further on the action or solve the crime. But not only that, but before we had CCTV, we had 2 pensioners who were robbed of their pensions as they left the post office. We had 6 break-ins in the vicinity of businesses, which caused considerable amount of hassle and cost and things like that. But also we had misbehaviour in the village by the socialising of the youth on the main streets. And so all of those things have gone. We don't have those children hanging around, youths hanging around anymore. We haven't had an incident of theft of pensions or anything like that since we put the cameras in. So we actually think that it's more of a deterrent than anything else as well. So yes, we've picked up 46 crimes, but how many more would there have been if there hadn't been any CCTV? We are at the stage now where Systems Vision, which you will probably be discussing later, they have gone out of business, and so we needed to upgrade our cameras slightly earlier than we expected, because it would have been at 5 years anyway, so it would have been at 6 months' time. So we had a price from a Site Sniper, and I've sent through the remainder of the amount that they are requesting to finish the system. We have had the traffic lights and the roundabouts done, which HBA has paid for at £3,800 plus VAT, and then there is £9,100 plus VAT that's remaining. And we were just wondering whether there would be any possibility at all of HVPC putting some money towards our CCTV system. The other alternative, and this is something that I asked, HBA is not VAT registered, so we have to pick up all the VAT, and I wondered if there was any way that it was legal, morally correct. I don't know, you know, how we do it, but whether HBA could actually pay the council some money towards our remaining 9,100 plus VAT, and you paid for it because you can claim the VAT back. I don't know whether that would be legal or, you know, how we can do it, but I just wondered if that was an option.
We have done before.
I would say it's not legal for us to try and avoid VAT. If we took on responsibility for the whole thing, then that would be fair, but we're not allowed to pay things so that you can avoid VAT, no.
Right. So that's you know, that was something that I wondered whether if HVPC were going to put some money towards it, that we could then contribute to you and you could pay for it, you know. But
that's an option, yeah.
Yeah, that's another option, and then obviously that you can claim the VAT back. So that was it really, rounding it up. That was what I wanted to talk to you about. But I also understand we've got quite a bit of youth activity going on as well, and so I understand that your budgets need to go where you feel you need to spend them.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Has anyone got any questions of June before we move on? I mean, we will endeavour to bring that item up the agenda so we can discuss it if that's okay.
Yes, certainly.
Can I please come in on that, please?
Please do, Judith.
We have, Michael, before on certain things, we have actually paid for the items and dealt with the VAT in respect similar to what she has already said. Maybe we could look into that.
I am aware that has happened before when someone's wanted something and so we've purchased it. I think it would depend on the amounts of what we're looking at, whether that would be a fiddle. So if Home Valley Parish Council,
if it's a fiddle for that, if it's a fiddle for the
let me finish, Judith. If we were going to contribute, say, the 100% of something for an item and pay for it all, then the parish council could pay for it all and claim the VAT back. Yeah. There. If Home Valley Homley Business Association are going to be contributing £17,000 to something, and Home Valley Parish Council give them 50 quid, but we put it all through the parish council's books to avoid all the VAT on the old 1,700 quid, that would be a fiddle, I think.
That would be a definite fiddle.
Yeah. So I think we need to be
that.
Yeah, so I think you're quite right in the way things that have been done in the past. I think that's, you know, but I think we have to be okay and above board and open with what exactly it is we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody got any other questions for June?
No, I don't think so. Has Bill O'Brien actually closed the business, or has he closed it because
Bill O'Brien is just recovering from COVID. His wife has just passed away from COVID, and basically when we went into lockdown, he said that he wasn't earning enough through Systems Vision, so he started upping the amount of work that he was doing for the ambulance station, being a first responder. And so when he started doing that, the eye of running the business just went completely, and we couldn't get downloads from the system and things like that because he just wasn't anywhere around. Now, one of his businesses came up as an alert on Companies House to say that it would, I can't remember the terminology, but he had to give it some attention, and he actually went and carried on as though he was still hoping to run the business. He hasn't got any staff. I can't see that he's going to be running that business again. So as far as it's gone.
Okay. Thank you for that. Has anybody got anything else? Kath's got a hand up.
Yes. Can I ask you, June, there was, did Bill get some to update it? Because I was aware that he was going to update your system, and it got the opponents to do it.
No.
He hasn't?
No.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm trying to see, have we got any other councillors got any questions for June?
No. Could I possibly introduce Michael? If you won't know, maybe but I spoke to Liz, Joanne Watson, who's from the ambulance service, with regards to the defibrillators that we have in the valley. She's just going to give us a little bit of an update.
I am aware.
These.
I was aware, and thank you, Judy, for that introduction there. So we have next we have 3 minutes. Joanne Watson from Judy's done the job of introducing you, so there you go. Thank you, Joanne, for attending.
Right. Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm the Community Defibrillator Coordinator for Yorkshire Ambulance Service, so I am the first point of contact for all the public access defibrillators, not just for the local area, but for all of Yorkshire. So any queries that any of the public access defibs have, they contact me and I can help them, support them as much as we can. Funding we don't do, simply because we don't have the funds available. There's currently over 2,400 CPADs out there in Yorkshire, so we just couldn't commit to any kind of funding for that. But we're certainly there to help support. If you've any queries with them, we can come out and do checks if you're unsure. We can come out and do some training once COVID decides to disappear. So for the communities, we can come out and do some training. I know in the past, I believe Bill has done quite a lot of training for your local area for the defibs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's something that we will continue to liaise with Bill to do, because he is still a community first responder for us, although he's doing a lot more work within the paid side of it as well now. So I was speaking to Bill and I actually went to see him either last week or the week before, I can't remember which day it was. He is still recovering from COVID and obviously from the death of his wife, so he's quite very lethargic still. As you mentioned earlier, Kath, it's really taking its toll on him, COVID, and he's really, really lethargic, tired. And I think on top of losing his wife, that's not help matters as well. So any queries I do have with any CPADs within the Home Valley, which you've currently got, I believe, 39 out there that Bill's helped put out. Bill is my first point of contact. And he has another community first responder that he works with. So if Bill's not able to go out and check them, he has a colleague that can go out and do them as well. So they're never offline for a long period of time. And Bill's been really, really good getting everything sorted for them. If I've got any queries with them, I ring him, and within an hour or so, he's usually back to me and said, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z. You've got 3 main ones at the moment that are getting activated quite regular. So when I say they've been activated, we send them out to someone if we receive a 999 call and it's not just for a cardiac arrest. If there's someone that has, say, chest pains, they're having a seizure, possible stroke, or breathing difficulties, if there's someone else besides the caller and they're within 600 metres of the nearest defibrillator, we will send someone to go and collect it, to be at the side of the patient. And that is just in case if that patient gets any worse before the ambulance arrives, we've already got the extra piece of equipment there needed to hopefully help save someone's life. Because CPR alone's great, but CPR and a defibrillator can make an immense great difference to someone if they are in cardiac arrest. And that is the reason why you get so many activations, but a lot of them are not even. They'll be taken out, taken to the patient's house, and then returned. And it looks like it's not even been out of the cabinet, but it's always there just in case. You've got 3 within your Home Valley. You've got 1 in Holmfirth at the toilets. That's the main one that's activated within Holmfirth. In Honley, you've got the Allied Public House. And then there's 1 in Meltham at CPS Estate Agents. Those are the main 3 that tend to get activated quite regular. I'm not familiar with the area, but it must be just down to footfall and the residential area that they are based within. But those are always checked along with the other 36. So that is basically it. But if any pads or batteries need changing, Bill again sorts those out for me. So, and I believe he's been getting various grants throughout the time when he's been dealing with them. So he's always got the funding available to keep them going as well. So they're never going to be offline for any point. So if anybody's got any questions regarding the defibrillator, I'm happy to answer any.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. And if anybody's bringing it to everyone's attention, I'm sure you've already. You also provided quite a detailed report as well which is attached to these minutes today. Has anyone got any questions for Joanne? I'm not seeing anybody's hand up. Please let me know if there is. I'm missing anybody. Okay, thank you very much indeed for that, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne.
No,
Thank
glad
you.
to help.
Yeah,
And
thank
if
you.
you think of any questions afterwards, Liz has got my contact details. So if you want to drop me an email or give me a call, I'm happy to answer anything.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming along. Thank you.
Thank you.
No
Thank you,
problem.
John.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye
All
now.
right. Bye-bye.
And I believe we have Susan Greenwood from Kirklees Youth Association. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's Kirklees Youth Alliance.
Thank you. Sorry,
Nearly
Alliance.
there, nearly there.
Thank you.
Yeah, hiya. I've been introduced to you by Councillor Paul Davis, who I was speaking to last week about developing some new youth provision in Holmfirth. And really, I made an approach to the parish council to see if they were in any way able to make a donation to our current campaign. However, I was, updated that that probably wouldn't be an option at the moment. So I'm really just here to introduce myself and introduce the work that we're doing in the Home Valley, with a view to hopefully being kept updated as and when there are any other funding opportunities that we can feed into the project. So Kirklees Youth Alliance, it's a brand new local charity. We were incorporated in October last year, having done development work for the last 2.5 years. So what I've developed is a network of over 120 local youth organisations operating across Kirklees. The ones that I can think of off the top of my head that are local to you guys are Cafe 100's the obvious one in Holmfirth Centre. Through the Valleys or River Home Connections, they're part of the network, Eden's Forest and Honley. So we're basically, I'm here to support organisations in the community, voluntary and social enterprise sector who deliver positive activities for children and young people. It's as simple as that, really. So we're a youth work infrastructure organisation. And provide sort of quality assurance and training and support to those organisations. We do newsletters, telling them about funding opportunities, any sort of regional youth work news, national youth work news. I also act as a voice for those organisations who in the main are volunteer-led, and act as a voice to statutory partners like the council. So I sit on the Children's Partnership and the Youth Development Board. I also bring in money to the sector that's distributed to the sector so that we've got a thriving voluntary youth sector. And the biggest programme that I run, I suppose, that I coordinate is the Healthy Holidays programme that some of you might be familiar with. And so that is a £225,000 programme aimed at alleviating holiday hunger, which is a topic that's been made very famous by the footballer recently, Marcus Rashford. Well, I've been coordinating that programme for the last, that's my 3 minutes. See how organised I am. So that's it, it was just to introduce myself.
Thank you for coming along. We found that very interesting. I think there might be a few people here that's, I think they get the details off the clerk if they need to get in touch with you.
Sure.
There might be a few people in this room that might want to be getting in touch with you regarding what's going on there. I know both councillors and maybe some members of the public that happen to be here as well. So yeah, I think there's some connections that we can be made there. And
definitely.
Going forward, hopefully we can work together wherever we can and form a partnership. So yeah, okay, I'm going to go.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for coming along. Appreciate it. So I'm going to go along now through the first few items on the agenda, the business stuff, and then we've got a presentation from Carol Ann Smith, I believe, from Kirklees. So I'll just get these bits of business out of the way if that's okay. So first of all, to receive members' to accept apologies for absence. Have we any apologies, Liz?
Donald, Councillor Firth gave his apologies, got a council meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And then to receive members' personal and disclosable pecuniary interests in items on the agenda and to receive any disclosable interest for officers.
None received.
Do I need to disclose the fact that I've had a lot of dealings with these defibrillators?
I don't know. You probably know better than, but I don't think it would do any harm if you did.
Well, I will declare because
Yeah.
the majority that actually have gone up in the valley have been put with money, part funded through the League of Friends, which I chair.
Yeah, thank you. That's noted, Judy. Thank you for that. And so item 2021-34, to consider written requests for new DPI dispensations. Have we received any?
No.
Okay, no problem. I've just got another message trying to do two things at once, and to consider whether any items on the agenda should be discussed in private session. I haven't looked at them and I've not seen anything that I think needs to be discussed in private. Anybody else got anything? I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, doke then. And to note the minutes of the previous meeting, has anyone got any spotted any inaccuracies or anything that needs clearing up, sorting out, or any actioning?
Actually, Michael, could I just say that the contract between the maintenance contract, maybe that needed to be taken in private?
So that's item number...
Yeah, 202149.
Yep. Okay. So so item with the regarding the tender for the maintenance contract.
That's right. Yeah.
Judy's proposed to take that in private section. And anyone? All those in favour? Does anyone second that? Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Brooke. All those in favour? Yeah, I think it's private. Yeah, I'm quite okay to take it in private.
Thank you.
And what's the numbers looking at? Can you keep your hands up? I need to count.
Me.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, so that's yeah, we'll take that in private. Thank you very much. And so then we get on to, I've been informed that it's actually going to be Jackie Beaver, I believe, who's going to be presenting on behalf of Kirklees. Is that, have I got that right?
Yeah, that's correct. It was I'm supporting Jackie, but she's the font of all knowledge on this, and she's on the call also.
Okay, so
I'm the font of all knowledge.
we have Jackie Beaver.
Be careful.
So we've got Jackie Beaver from Kirklees Children's and Young Persons Service to introduce us to the Family Hub's model of early support within Kirklees. Over to you, Jackie, and thank you very much for coming along.
Well, thank you for giving the time to us. So I'm Jackie Beaver, one of the service managers within early support, and I'm leading on this work around proposals for family hubs in Kirklees, which, as Michael said, it's sort of the next steps for us in early support, moving on from a cabinet paper that went through cabinet back in 2017, which was around proposals for early help offered for children, young people and families. So this is our sort of next step. These proposals went to Cabinet in December last year, and we were asked to undertake a programme of engagement activity, hence asking to come along to this. So I guess it's twofold really. One is any comments, questions, feedback that you want to give us in relation to the proposals, and then an ask from us if there are any sort of forums, arenas, meetings that you would be willing to share the questionnaire and the other information out for us to get any engagement back. That would be really helpful. I'll do a very quick overview of sort of the proposals. So family hubs in general offer a range of prevention and early intervention services for families. So they're reduced to stop that escalation into higher end sort of specialist and social services. So it's stopping that escalation, that step up, step down from higher end services. It's a whole family approach. And as soon as a family know they're having a baby, right through to becoming an adult. But when I say whole family, as you well know, a lot of sort of the impacts on children are because of some of the adult sort of situations that are happening. So, for example, unemployment, substance misuse, etc., etc. Hence why it's whole family. So this is, we're on sort of a next step in our journey in early support. It's an approach that builds on work that's been undertaken so far. So it builds on existing place and community asset, bringing individuals, organisations and places together. And it's a strength-based approach. It's about the strengths and assets that are already there. So you may be familiar with the community hubs, of which we now have 16 because three of them have combined to make 2. So these proposals build on the work of those community hubs. It's about developing a better, integrated, seamless early support offer for children, young people and families. So if you like, a bit of a hub-to-hub model. So it's place-based around 4 geographical areas. So those geographical areas are Dewsbury and Mirfield, Batley and Spen, Huddersfield and rural. And it's not about buildings. So this is about having services available locally for families when and where they need it. Having said that, we do have 4 main children's centre buildings that, if people have been around in Kirklees for a while and other authorities, we had children's centres, and we still have statutory duty, which is a legal entity around children's centres, which is services for families with children under 5. So those 4 buildings that I'm talking about are Chestnut Centre, Dewsbury Moor Children's Centre, Birstall Children's Centre and Slough Town Hall. But when I talk about those, that is more around sort of the planning of services, the administrative side and the possible co-location of organisations to be able to work more closely together. The offer is across the whole of the geography. It's not just from those buildings. In terms of COVID, that has placed us with lots of challenges, as it has everybody. However, we've seen place-based working in action, where we've seen ourselves, a number of organisations, including voluntary sector, some of the mutual aid organisations coming together and supporting people living in communities around that COVID response. We've had to consider our sort of offer and how we deliver some of the things. So digital platforms have had to be used, and we continue. And so, for example, some of our parenting offer is over online, and we've had virtual visits and things like that. We're also considering midwifery hubs, which was part of the Better Births review, where midwifery services aligned to the delivery of family hubs. So we're hoping that the proposals will address some of the inequalities, in particular tackling poverty, support priorities around best start in life and school readiness, address some of the issues around young people, gangs, antisocial behaviour, will address some of the key public health outcomes, and offer support for parents, including relationship support, help with benefits, advice, employment and housing. Some of the offer is universal and some of the offer is targeted. So when I say targeted, that can be one-on-one family support, young parents group, support for families with children with SEND. And again, those lists are not exhaustive, lots of things that can be offered. And the model is based on outcomes, so there is a suggested outcomes framework, but we know we need to do some work on that with others because we're talking about a partnership approach and an integrated outcomes framework. So in summary, this is about having those preventative early intervention services available for families locally when and where they need it, and it can be from a raft of places. So it could be a community building, a church hall, a school, a mosque, an outdoor play area in local parks, health centres, etc., etc., wherever families will access services. So that is a very quick sort of snapshot overview. I think you've had the cabinet paper and links to some documentation. So there is an easy read guide and a frequently asked questions document that sits with the online questionnaire. We do have a dedicated inbox. We're doing a round of this sort of focused engagement activity. There are some open public sessions. Any of it can be translated, and plus we can offer paper copies if that's relevant. So I'll stop there, and if anybody's got any questions or comments or feedback.
Thank you very much for that. And just, I believe the next one applicable towards the public session sort of event is the 3rd between 6 and 7 p.m. Is that right?
Sorry,
Wednesday the 3rd. The next public event for dealing with Kirklees and the rural valleys, which is us, is on Wednesday the 3rd of February. 6
Is that
till 7
right,
p.m.
Caroline? Is that
Yeah,
right?
I'm just checking because we've also because we realised that there wasn't much time for people to book on. We've just arranged another one, so I just want to get you that date, and I'm just checking my emails. Just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, so there's one on the February 3rd. That's an evening one, and then we've arranged another one for your area, which is February the 12th, which is 10 o'clock to 11, and we're going to be sending those new dates out tomorrow. I've just got it hot off the press from our comms department.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we've got a few councillors got a few questions for you while you're here, if that's okay. I've got Councillor Judith Roberts first of all.
Can I ask you, please? Is it a similar things that you're going to be doing like you did when it was the Early Learning Centre?
Some of the principles around what we're trying to do align to the old Sure Start offer. So if anybody was around when Sure Start was around. However, the Children's Centre and Sure Start were predominantly for families with children under 5. This is 0 to 19, so pre-birth, up to 19 years old, and up to 25 if that young adult has a SEND need. But as I said at the beginning, it's about that whole family approach. Because
and what happened to those centres? I know certain ones were closed, but there was an awful lot of money spent in getting those up and running, and they didn't seem to last very long. So, what's happened to them now?
we've still got the children's centres. Back in 2017, when the proposals went through cabinet, the children's centres sort of formed part of the community hubs. So in terms of the community hubs, the delivery of services is via those children's centres and other. So it's working very closely with schools in the hubs. Still got those buildings. There will be another piece of work alongside this to consider the offer and any additionality through those buildings. So we do still have them.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we got any other members of the committee got any questions? No, we haven't. However, we have a member.
I think Dukes Carr has a question.
Oh, well, hang on a second. Yeah. I'm aware of that, but he's not a member of this committee, so therefore I'm just asking, can we suspend standing orders to let a member of the public, who is also a parish councillor, put a question, if that's okay? Are we all okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so suspend standing orders and Doug's can chip in. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, I've got loads and loads of views on this, unfortunately, and I don't know how much time you've given it on the agenda. I speak as somebody who actually started working for the authority 30 years ago as a part-time youth worker, and I worked a lot on various related projects, including actually sitting on the management committees of 2 of the children's centres, one of the ones that covered the Denbigh, Kirkburton area, and also the ones that covered Dewsbury and Mirfield. And I think sadly what the officers haven't really said is, what we've seen is a massive reduction in resources that has led effectively to the closure of children's centres that were fully staffed by paid staff operating open door policies to pretty much anybody who came in. A lot of that has just disappeared. Some of the buildings are still there. Most of them moved over to the ownership of schools one way or another. And certainly a few that I was dealing with in latter years just the doors weren't open. So there has been a massive reduction. The other huge reduction is the authority decided more recently to basically shut the youth service completely. So there was no youth service, and all that was left of it was the officer that we saw who came along earlier from, I think Judith's talking over me. The Kirklees Youth Alliance, basically a contract was given to Kirklees Youth Alliance to deliver a shadow of the youth service. So I guess this report, I'm still left wondering really what's the scale of that offer, because it talks about a youth service, but it doesn't actually mention in the bullets what that is. And I know there's been a lot of issues about co-location of services with both midwives and locala staff working in children's centres. Sometimes they were, sometimes they weren't. But where that could work well, it worked really well. But then it seemed as if the NHS staff sort of disappeared and moved to the side, and that made the children's centres less relevant. So it just feels like there's been a massive reduction in the levels of funding, the levels of officers. And I suppose the assurance that I want is something about the quantity of the offer, because it's very difficult to see from a high level report like this which is more of a strategic approach, about what's actually going to be left. Because certainly as a grandfather of 2 young children who were born in the Colne Valley in the last 12 months, apart from seeing midwife and NHS staff, they've had no contact whatsoever from anybody from the Children's Centre, and there is one in Slathwaite. So what, where are the officers and what are they doing from the council side? That's my concerns. And what's the future of the youth service?
Okay, so a number of things there. So in terms of the decisions made in 2017, and this happened in a lot of authorities, there were some quite significant changes in terms of the Children's Centre agenda, and the shift from that, the sort of offer for families with children under 5 being a totally universal offer to a more targeted approach. And that targeted approach really was a government drive around targeting your most vulnerable families. Now, Kirklees, I wasn't in Kirklees in 2017, I have to say. So I do know a bit of the history because I've been told it, but I wasn't around when it happened. I started on lockdown day in March, so I've taken on this work to move it forward. However, as I understand it in Kirklees, the decision was to move towards an early support prevention targeted intervention offer, which is what has happened and continues to happen. So within early support, within the local authority now, we have a family support team. So they do take referrals and do work with families one-on-one. And I think at the moment we've got about a caseload of about 260 plus families that we're working with. We have early years, so early years service sits with us. We have a parenting team that sits with us. We have the community coordinators, which was the sort of changes around the Children's Centre. And as I said, they sort of moved over to a community hub model and community hubs with schools, and they deliver that sort of offer through the community hubs. We have a family group conferencing team. We have detached youth work team and play and Duke of Edinburgh that all sits with us. And detached youth sort of came into early support probably about 9 to 12 months ago. So we've been in a recruitment phase of recruiting officers in terms of detached youth, but they've certainly been very, very active in response to COVID and being out on the streets working with young people in a detached youth way. And we've got a play, so we've been looking at a play offer, certainly around Crowness Park and places like that. And what else have we got? I'm just thinking, mental health in families, so that sits with us as well in early support. So there has been since 2017, and some of the changes that happened, we still have got an early support offer. So in terms of the quantity of the offer, so this is our sort of next steps, and this is not just about the local authority. This is about that early support partnership, working together with voluntary organisations, mutual aid organisations, schools, police, health, and all of those organisations that offer that early prevention and early intervention support to families. So in terms of the offer and what that will look like, I can't say what that will look like at this point in time, because I think that needs to be worked up locally, and that needs to be worked up locally with people that live there, with people that work there, with families that want to access services, with professionals as well. So it's about us collectively coming together in those localities to come up, to agree what that sort of early support offer will look like. Now, when I say that, that is building on the offer that is already there. This is not about displacing anything that we've already got happening and others have got happening. We've got a really strong voluntary sector in Kirklees who are delivering a lot of early support out in communities. Have I answered what you asked there? I took a few notes. Or anything I've missed?
Well, I suppose.
Okay,
I mean, I
can I
suppose
just? Well, I've got a lot of business
Sorry.
tonight, Doug. So if you can be brief, I would appreciate it. And of course, you're welcome to go to any of the public sections.
You're very willing. I'm quite happy to have a separate conversation if you want to.
Well, the only 2 points I make. One, I'm aware that the reason why this massive reduction in service offers come around is because of the massive cuts that local governments face. And I do think it is important to collaborate. I think in the Home Valley, you're absolutely right. In the rural areas, we've got a huge amount of community capacity and voluntary work that goes on. Cafe 100 in Holmfirth and similar projects.
Yeah.
And that's really where the children's centre sort of, when they parachuted in, they sort of put voluntary groups out of business because they didn't really collaborate in the early stages. So I think there's a lot of learning about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only other question I'd leave with you really is about the logic to putting the centre in Slathwaite, because what we found when we were working in Dewsbury was the centre that was in the town centre, Dewsbury Children's Centre, which was much busier than Dewsbury Moor one. And I think Huddersfield want to be busier in Huddersfield. And sadly, and I say this as somebody who's a huge fan of the rural area, if you want to put a hub for the rural area, you need to put it in Huddersfield, because it's just impossible for people to get across to Slathwaite from many of the outlying areas, whereas it's a lot easier on public transport to get into Huddersfield. So I just think I think that geographically, I just think Slathwaite's not a very, and I'm a big fan of Slathwaite as well, but it cross-cutting across the rural area, you probably need to go into a central hub that's on the bus route, and that's town.
And this model is not about delivery of services from Slough Town Hall. This is about having services available locally where people live. So just because we've named a building, Slough Town Hall, that does not mean that delivery of services will be from. Now, there may be some, if it's needed for Slough and for people that live locally to Slough Town Hall, but this is about having services. For example, we wouldn't expect somebody that lives in Denbydale to get all the way to Slough Town Hall to access a service. So it's about working with others. And
but that was when they refurbished Slough Town Hall only a few years ago to create a super youth centre. That was exactly the model. They expected young people to travel, and they never did. It never worked.
Well, this is not about people.
I'm going to have to interject here because, like I say, I've got a lot of business to get through. Thank you very much indeed, Jackie and Carol, for coming. I really appreciate it. Just before I move on, I've noticed we've got a Teresa Moxon here, another member of the public.
No, Teresa's supporting us. She was capturing
any feedback.
So we'll leave now. But Douglas, if you do want to catch up with me, please do. There is a dedicated email inbox for jackiebeaver@kirklees.gov.uk.
Yeah, I'll drop me an email, Douglas, and I'll sort something out. So it's happy to chat further.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming along.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okie doke. So, are we all there? Still there? Have I got rid of everybody? Yeah, I think you're all there. Yeah, so, moving on. Next item. Well, we want to go to bring focus. I know that June's here. We want to looking at the CCTV, I believe. So if I bring item 2021-48 up now, the committee has asked whether it wants to find a new provider of CCTV in Holmfirth and whether it supports a similar system being purchased for Homley. The CCTV in Holmfirth bus station was funded by the parish council some years ago and is managed by System Vision. The clerks understand that this business is looking for a buyer, but none is so far identified. Well, we don't really know exactly where we are with System Vision just yet, do we? The Kirklees Department, Surf Kirklees, are keen to see a resolution. The Homley Business Association have written to the clerk asking whether their CCTV system, which needs upgrading to a cost of $12,000, could be taken on by HBPC or a grant made towards a new system. And they note that they're of the opinion that the System Vision is no longer running a viable service as such. So, councillors, CCTVs come up, and so there's concerns about both Holmfirth and Homley. And it seems sort of like there's a piece of work to be done here to see where we go as a parish council. Are we going to support CCTV? If we are going to support CCTV, what kind of model do we want to work that support on? So I've got Tom Dixon's keen with his hand up to contribute. So over to Tom.
Yeah, we've previously supported CCTV by giving money towards it and budgeting towards it. I don't know what's in the budget at the moment for CCTV. We've provided CCTV in Holmfirth. We gave some money towards CCTV in New Mill as well at one point. And I think we've given some to Homley before. So I'm happy to, no, apparently we haven't. I thought we had, but we might not. I think it'd be good. We should support it. If we're supporting it in Home Firth, we should support it in Honley as well. So I'm not against that, but I'm just interested what we've got in the budget. The other issue being system vision, which I think we should be sensitive about considering the circumstances at the moment. We should maybe just give Bill a bit of time. He's provided a good service to the council before in the Home Valley with defibrillators and cameras. And maybe we should give him a bit of time before starting to go with a completely different provider, or let him have a bit of time to think over what his future and what he wants to do and various other things before we decide him to go with somebody completely different. It's a bit of a difficult situation, but I'm supportive of providing some funds towards Honley for it. But it could be difficult because if we've got nothing in the budget for next year, I don't know what we've got in the budget for this year. So maybe that's something Liz could help us with.
I can. But we've had £5,000 in the budget both years, last year, this year, as far as I know. And next year we've decided to put it in earmark reserves because we've never used it. So there is still £5,000 in the budget, I suppose. But what I'm worried about is that we don't really know what our commitment is in Home Firth, which was prior. And that if we give all that money to Honley, what are we going to do with the Home Firth system when it needs updating? That's my query. I've got lots of queries in my mind about the whole system, really.
Okay, I've got Councillor Brooke and Councillor Blacker. So I'll go with Councillor Brooke first.
Yeah, I'm just a bit worried about giving money to a dead horse. Do we need to start looking at alternatives just in case the worst does happen to System Vision? So that we're ahead of the game, than just waiting just in case he gets better. I've got a funny feeling, that we need to be ahead of the game here and try and get something sorted out as a backup plan if something does go worse.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brooke. Councillor Blacker?
Yeah, following on from what Councillor Brooke said, and I agree with what Tom said, that perhaps we need to be mindful of the need to with compassion and discretion. I think we do need to perhaps wait and find out what the outcome is in terms of System Vision. But we've got this, in a sense, there are two proposals here, aren't there? The first one is about finding a new provider, and then the second one is about supporting or not supporting the system in Honley. I would suggest that we should support the system in Honley, but we're not in a position this evening to say by how much we could support it, and we obviously clearly need to look a bit more at our budget. But in principle, maybe we could agree that we are going to support the system in Honley, for one, and then for two, that we will explore the issues around the System Vision.
Okay, are we any other contributions for Kath and then Sean?
Yeah, I understand years ago the reason why Home Firth got CT cameras, because there was a lot of bother in the bus station, and it was Kirklees fitted it. It weren't the parish council, and it was the 3 Kirklees ward councillors what put the money into it.
Okay, thank you for that, Kath. And then Sean?
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to ask June, is the CCTV system in Honley currently not available then?
We've had the roundabout and the traffic lights upgraded by Site Sniper. We had that done and it became active on Tuesday. For the last 12 months, we've been trying to deal with Bill, even before COVID. And it was, I would say 6 months before COVID, we were finding difficulty to get any replies whatsoever, or to get any feedback about any requests for information or anything. So I think that there was issues with Systems Vision way before COVID. And obviously now his wife has died from it and he's had it. It's not helped the situation, but I actually think that Systems Vision was in trouble a long time before that. So we upgraded our system at the roundabout and the traffic lights with Site Sniper. So we have got some of our system working, but the rest of it, we can't get any passwords. We don't believe it's working. But we have had no success with Bill getting any information whatsoever for 12 months, over 12 months.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so, right, where are we? Yeah, this, I'm getting, it seems to be the consensus that we want to fund in some way or contribute towards CCTV from the councils. I think most of us talking that way. I suppose it's a lot of it is based on what model we do that, whether it's we just make, you apply for a grant and we give you some money, or if we're looking at something a bit more where we're playing more of a key role and a longer term commitment to it, then we need a bit more meat on the bones, and then I think we need to look at what's happening in Home Firth and what's going to happen in.
We've lost you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm back now. I'm back.
Okay.
So one there. I mean, Councillor Roberts. Before I carry on, you've got your pen up.
I've got to unmute her. Hold on.
Yeah, can I make a proposal that, or whatever you would like me to make, that we get in touch with this Site Sniper, the ones that have been dealing with Honley, and ask them if they would possibly give us an estimation of what it would cost to upgrade or put a new system in Home Firth, and how much extra it would be to complement the ones that are in Honley as well. See how much the whole caboose is together, and come back to us, because we would need at least 3 quotes.
Yeah, we would. Yeah.
So we've got to have that, but we could make a start with this Site Sniper, and ask them if they would kindly give us an insight as to the cost, what it entails. Will it be a yearly fee that we have to pay? Just exactly the entails of it all, prior to us saying, well, yes, we'll do this and we'll do that, because if it's going to cost a tremendous amount of money, then we're going to have to look elsewhere for some funding, aren't we?
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Brooke? You're on mute.
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah. I feel uncomfortable just going to one company. I think if the council agreed to go to it, we need to do the official and do 3 companies at the same time and get a quote and work from that. I can't see the point of just going to one and to see what it's going to be and then make a decision.
I've just said that.
No, you said go to one. I said if you're going to make a decision, we need to go to the 3 companies straight away, not just to
I don't think we need to get to Naggy. I think Councillor Roberts said we'll go to Site Sniper, but then we will have to go to the companies as well, but we could get the ball rolling if we know that they're operating in the area.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to go, get into a bit of a row of who said what said.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Can I just
think,
raise something, please?
Thank you, Liz.
Can I just say that I don't think we own the Home Firth one. I think Kath said it was put in by the police, so it's not up to us to decide what it needs or where it should go unless we've consulted who owns it.
Councillor Dixon, have you got some information regarding that?
Well, I'm not sure who does own that one. I think it was Neighbourhood Policing who did contact us about giving some money towards the scheme in Home Firth, and I think they had some money as well themselves, which they provided for it. And Kath might know. I'm not 100% sure myself, but I think we might have joint funded it with them. So it might be worth contacting the local policing team as well, or whoever that may be, to see if we can do it as a joint venture, because they may have funding they can give towards it as well.
If I can remember rightly, Tom, then when it originally started up, maybe you can remember, Kath, but the funding for it was partly done by Systems Vision as well, because there was no charges made for certain things, were there?
They didn't charge at all.
No, I knew they hadn't done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And it-
if it was done partly with the in partnership, like with the police and the parish council, and maybe we could ask the ward councillors if they'd like to just chip a couple of threatening bits in. Yeah.
Yeah. From what I'm hearing and speaking to everyone, I think there's a bit of piece of work to be done here regarding possibly a working group. I'm reluctant to raise the term working group, but basically around what's the provision in Home Firth and how satisfactory and what's that like? Mm-hmm. What have we got in Homley and how satisfactory is that? And can we come up with a funding model where we can, as a parish council, and work with other people and work with them to provide basically an adequate and good system in both areas, or all the areas. I suppose there's New Mill as well, if there's cameras there. I suppose throughout the whole of the Home Valley, really. So I suppose, that doesn't give you an answer. We can give you how much money, June. June. Go on.
Can I just ask then? I mean, as Honley Business Association, if we said, well, we don't want this to go on for months and months and months and us not get a resolve, not get an answer. If we actually went ahead and paid for that, and then you decided, right, okay, every area is going to get £2,000, could we still be eligible for getting that money? Or if we've had it done, do we just lose out again?
No, because it's retrospective.
But you're not paying for the system, are you? You're just contributing towards the actual system.
Tom?
I think, like Judith said, it'd be difficult to pay for something that's already been put there, but we could pay for future maintenance and servicing and things like that, I think.
But there again, Tom, if you think about it, we need to have 3 quotes. So whether or not we would be able to fund it without 3 quotes, I would like to say.
I think you will find it impossible to get 3 quotes because there aren't 3 companies who do it.
I think it would depend on.
The association gave us a grant appeal, put us in a grant request for servicing and maintenance costs. Then we may be able to do it that way, I think.
Councillor Brooke.
Yeah, I was just about to say, is that the same thing? If they're applying for a grant for help for servicing, we don't need to get 3 quotes because it's
their job.
It's just to do it already. So that could be a possible solution. But if they are going to want to go ahead in the system and pay for themselves, there's no reason why they can't apply for a grant to money towards get it installed anyway.
Yeah, there is a budget in place for this year. That's right, isn't it? Oh, sorry, Councillor Blacker.
Just so we have some clarity here, could we just perhaps have a proposal that we are agreeing to make a contribution towards CCTV in Honley, because I think that's the way the discussion is going. So at least June knows that we've made that decision. And I'm afraid I think there's no way out probably but than a working party, because these are complex issues and we can't resolve them in this kind of meeting.
Okay.
So if could we have a proposal that we agree to make a grant towards the cost?
Sorry, Councillor Blacker, I don't think we can agree to make a grant when there's no grant application come forward. However, we have a budget. If a grant application was to come forward in this year, have we got another service provision meeting this year? No, we haven't. So we'd have to have an extraordinary service provision meeting to look at one grant if that was to come forward. Is that right, Liz?
We've got one at the beginning of April the 18th, 19th or something like that it is.
But that's next year's budget and there's no budget for CCTV in that budget. So we have to get it in this year's budget. So Liz, am I putting on you too much if I said if an application came in, we would have to hold a extraordinary service provision meeting?
Yeah, we would, but it's possible.
It's possible. Okay, I don't want you cursing me and spitting feathers when I'm getting you arranging more meetings. So therefore, if a grant application did come forward to this committee regarding CCTV and what have you, it is something that we would duty bound to have a look at, June. Is that okay? And then I think for going forward as a parish council, we definitely need to have a look at what we're wanting to do with regarding the other CCTV up and down the Home Valley. I think that's, Yeah, I think that's where we need to be. Is that okay?
I'll get that grant into you tomorrow. No, Thursday, Liz.
So that's just I suppose that's just a note, isn't it? We don't have nothing concrete to actually, unless we want to say that we're going to we are actually going to form a CCTV working party. Or do we want to think about that and wait to take that at this extraordinary meeting when we look at the grant?
Yeah, best way.
We'll do it that way. Okay, then.
I'll carry on trying to find out more, which is what I've been doing for a few months now.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that. Thank you for coming along, Jill. Thank you. Okie doke. Let me right then going back up the agenda. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we are on item 202138 war memorials.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 2021-39, the council consider request from Hepworth Church Vicar that the lettering on the Hepworth Memorial is repainted. The maintenance contractor says that he can repaint the lettering as it is black paint, and he's done this before, and to approve this work. If this is something we've done before, is anyone aware that the Hepworth Memorial's listed, or any reason why we shouldn't do this? Councillor Dixon.
I think they're all listed.
They're all not listed. It was at the Remembrance Day on the Remembrance Sunday this year. The vicar was finding it quite difficult to read the names off there because the black lettering had just gone. So I think if John knows is very good with working with stone and various things like that from his other work he's done. So I'd be happy for him to do the work.
Councillor Brooke.
Yeah, before we do that, I'm going back a couple of years ago. We did some re-lettering, and we ran into some problems from the British Legion, I think it were. Do we need to check with them first before we touch these more memorials?
I think we have to contact the War Memorial Trust with photos, and then they have to say if they've got it on their list, and then they give you advice about what you can do.
Yeah, I think before we do anything, I think we need to follow that process, because I remember last time we went ahead and did it and then found out we'd done some things wrong. So I think before we start, we need to go follow that process and get it correct.
So I guess the proposal is that, yes, we go ahead with this on the proviso we get all, when it says go ahead with this work, that work includes getting all relevant permissions and whys and wherefores and what we can and can't do. So have we got a seconder to that? Councillor Dixon. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you very much.
In that case, could I ask Councillor Dixon, would you mind sending me a couple of photos of it so that I can send them onto the website, because otherwise they won't look at me. Thank you. It would help me because I haven't got a car and I can't get over there at the moment.
Thank you very much. And then we have benches, shelters and phone boxes, it just says there. Is this the next item, or is that?
Well, it's a collection of items.
Okay, so yeah,
the heading.
2021-40 to consider whether to reposition a bench at Longing Road in Haydedge. A move has been requested by a resident who finds the behaviour of young people using the bench vexatious. Okay, so I mean, we have had we put a sign on there saying that we may be doing this, and we asked for members of the public to contribute to us, and it's been quite successful. I've had 6 people actually responded, all of them quite happy and like it where it is and don't want us to move it. So I think we've got a few councillors here want to speak on it. I've got Councillor Blacker, Councillor East, Councillor Brooke and Councillor Bellamy, I believe. So we'll go with Councillor Blacker first.
Yeah, so thank you first of all to Councillor Brooke, who gave me a bit of help with this, pointed out exactly where it is. So yes, I've been to see this. I saw the notice was attached at the time, and I absolutely concur with everything the public said. I think to move it would be ridiculous. It would remove the protection of the stone wall behind it, and it's a fantastic, wonderful place to stay. So absolutely, I think it needs to stay where it is.
Councillor East.
I'm just wondering if there's any more details about what vexatious behaviour the young people were getting up to.
Well, he's given us a long letter, but he says that they congregate, they're noisy, they leave litter, and he finds it antisocial.
It's called being a youth.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor.
Drop their litter there 25 metres down the road doesn't really make a lot of difference. In fact, there's no one to pick it up then, is there?
Yeah.
So
Councillor Brooke.
Yeah, if you remember correctly, one of these arguments was he wanted to put gates behind there so he could have access to his field. I sent some photographs to the Mary and the clerk regarding this. It's about 10 yards down to the left of the bench. These gates, a double gated entrance into the field, which was one of his issues. Regarding people and loitering, there's never been any rubbish. I've been living up there now for 17 years. We go past that bench virtually every day. There's never been any litter at all. So I think it was a faultless argument on that case. But I spoke to people around the community, and they all say it's a perfect position. Everybody's happy to leave it there. So I propose that we keep the bench where it is.
Thank you. And Councillor Bellamy? You didn't want to contribute, did you?
Sorry, I don't know why you're unmuted, Kath. Sorry. Oh, it keeps moving. I'm sorry. It's not me. Kath, can you unmute yourself?
Right. No, I agree with everything what everybody said. Just leave it where it is.
Okay, then. So with a proposal to leave it where it is, have we a seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And so all those in favour, stay as it is. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed for that. Okay, doke. Bit of good community engagement with that one. I like that. Okay, doke.
Somebody came to see me about that as well.
Good stuff. Okay, 2021-41 to note that a second memorial plate has been added to a bench in Scarhole Lane. Person whose parents are remembered in this way has now brought 2 plaques and made a contribution to the Chairman's charity in recognition of the repair contractor in fixing the plate and keeping the bench in good repair. Great stuff. So that's just a note. Then item 2021-42 to review the proposed policy on benches. It was referred back to full council. I believe the 2 items that we was referred back to, when I can find it, bringing it back, is one was the length of time that if you stick a plaque on it, how long does your plaque stay there? Which I think is a valid point, really. Now I have talked to the clerk about it, and we did sort of toyed with the idea of sort of where have you all gone? 25 years. I mean, could possibly be a time that would, you know, rather than say that's how long it's going to stay there, would sort of guarantee that it would stay there for 25 years, or as long as the bench is there. If Kirklees come and do a road widening and the bench disappears, then the bench disappears, doesn't it? And I think we'd have to get back in touch with the people whose plaque was on it, or ask them to get in touch with us one way or another. But other than that, I think if someone is wanting a plaque putting on it, I think it's a bit insensitive if we put it on and then say 3 years later take it off. So I think we have to sort of like give them some sort of guarantee that the plaque's going to be there for a certain length of time. So, but saying it's going to stay there in perpetuity is quite a big commitment for us going forward, isn't it? It's where is the balance, I suppose, is what we're talking about, is where if we put a plaque forward. So I spoke to the clerk earlier on today about it. We sort of said, what's the concept of 25 years? And I mean, what does anybody else think?
Can I just
Councillor Roberts.
say, if you have a plaque put on a bench at the crematorium, it's only there for so many years.
Okay, do you know how many years that is, Judith, at all?
I think, is it 5? And after 5 years, it's taken off. But each year, I can't, you know, it's not something that I've dealt with a great deal, but I do know they do take it off the bench, you know, because you can have little stone bits put down. Yeah. And they're there, like, some of them are there for 25 years and some are there for 20 years. But I think these that are on the benches, I think they're there for 5 years. But, you know, I'm just not 100% sure. But I know that you have to pay.
Yeah.
So pay, isn't it?
Okay, I've got Councillor Brooke and then Councillor Blacker.
Yeah, I agree that there should be a substantial period where they are on the bench, and then either, you know, we go back to the families and say, look, you know, your 25 years is up. Do you want to put another contribution for the next 25 years, or giving the plaque back to the family, you know, until they've got it? I do agree with that. But,
Just to
But I
think they'll
don't
have
know-
paid £12,500 they'll have paid.
Okay, Councillor Roberts, you've made
Sorry.
a preview. Can we just let Councillor Brooke have his say? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if 25 years is too long because, maybe we're talking, maybe realistically a 15-year period might be better, or even 10 years, because you've got to think of a little bit of people's lifespan. 25 years they might be no longer around, the people who wanted to put that plaque up. So maybe looking more like a 10 or a 15-year proposal on that. But then in that time, then go back to them and say, like, would you like to put it back on for another set amount, or do they give them the plaque back?
Thank you, Councillor Brooke. Councillor Blackett?
I was going to suggest that 25 years sounds to me about right, really. It's honestly, almost talking about a generation. I just thought 25 years was sensible.
Okay, look, have we any other contributions about that? Have we a proposal?
Can I mention, is it you just dealing with that one issue, or can I mention another one?
And there is the other issue, isn't there?
The number of plaques on each bench. I don't
Yeah,
think
the number
we
of
should
plaques.
limit it,
I think we can. Go
we've
on,
already
sorry.
put 2 on for this Mr.
Yeah.
Butterworth, so it's his mum and his dad, so it makes sense to have more than one
Yeah.
on the bench. So I don't know if you want a different,
Well, I think this sort of. I think we can deal with them separately, but I think it's
Okay.
something to be aware of.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that what's our policy going to be about multiple plaques on a bench? But I think anyway, we've got the time span. I mean, so have we got? Does anyone want to propose it, or do you want me to do it? I'll propose 25 years because that's what we said originally. Does anyone want to second that? And have we got any amendments? So I think Councillor Bellamy got a hand up. Was that for the second it, or was that to,
Yeah.
that was to second it? Okay,
Yeah.
Have we any amendments to the proposal?
There's a lot of us
Councillor
won't be
Brooke.
around in 25 years.
Councillor Brooke?
Yeah, the main amendment is that after said period, 25 years, that we go back to the family and offer them the chance to put it back onto the bench or give them the plaque back.
Are you
Yes,
going to do
well,
that, Councillor Brooke?
Okay. Councillor Brooke, the
possible.
administration around that sounds
It's
to me.
never going to happen. Let me tell you.
That sounds really, really difficult. I believe. I think we could. I think we could word the policy so basically, if the people whose plaque that is want to get back in touch with us and say, actually, I'd like my dad's plaque to stay there longer, that option would be available for them. Hence, like Judy says, if someone wants to come after 5 years and say, actually, I'd want my plaque to stay there for another 5, people could come to us after 25 years and say, I want it to stay there. But I think us having to chase up everybody's plaque to find out who they are and what have you will be an administrative impossibility.
Don't wanna be able to find the policy, never mind the names.
However, if you can get a seconder for your amendment, we'll have to take it. Tom's seconded that. Tom, are you seconding Councillor Brooks' amendment?
Yeah, well, I think it's worthwhile. We've had people before come back to us after a long time saying that there was somebody's name on the bench and something had happened to the bench for whatever reason and the plaque wasn't put back on there. So if people, it will happen. If we, after 25 years, if we just take a plaque and get rid of it or don't chase them up, people will ask questions about us and it can be sensitive. So, yeah.
I appreciate it's sensitive. I appreciate it. Councillor Roberts.
Tom, you'll be the only one that's still living in 25 years, possibly. So we'll leave that odious task for you.
Councillor
What do
Roberts,
you say?
Councillor Roberts, I'm sure I'm going to make 75.
Oh, yes.
I do hope I'll make 75.
Well, yes, I do as well.
Okay. How can I say it?
Well, you two
So,
between you can do it.
I suppose before we take a vote regarding that amendment, I would, rather than us have to find them, I'd be quite happy to continue the plaque being on there if they found us. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
if someone comes to us and says, so we can write in the policy after 25 years, unless they get in touch with us at that time and say, I still want it on there. Councillor Brooke?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit interested. There is ways where we could let people know that, you know, like at the moment we could use our website to say, like, these benches have been coming up to thing. If anybody knows these people and wants to continue, please get back in touch. We don't have to literally write to. We could do the equivalent of the internet email, you know, like our website at the time.
Okay. All I would say is, Councillor Brooke, all I would say is, Councillor Brooke, is we're obliging a future councillor in 25 years to do something. Now, because the first time that's going to happen is in 25 years' time. The chance of someone being aware that was done back here 25 years previously and being on board with that, I find it very, very difficult to sort of. I think we can write the policy. I think we can write the policy and make people aware now that in 25 years the onus is on them to get in touch with us and tell us to keep the plaque there.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's great on the benches what stay there 25 years. The point you made right at the beginning was what happens if a road gets widened and then we remove the bench, and we, you know, that's the situation we need to be wary of. That could be 2 years, 5 years down the line where people are still around. I
think these, you know, hence we would have a guarantee that we keep it there for 25 years, or we agree to put it onto another bench of their choosing. Yeah. If it's some of
this is getting much more complicated than it started out.
Well, it is, but I think these are valid points and what have you. So we have a time limit. Yeah. You get your plaque on it. You've got it for 25 years, either on that bench or any other bench if that bunch is removed.
Another.
Yeah. Okay. If you want it on longer than that, after 25 years, you've got to make the parish council aware.
Okay.
Does that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a proposal then. Are we happy to scrap all the previous proposals and just go with that one and vote on it, or do you want me to go down the proper method of going through these things?
Let's just go for that one.
Okay.
Therefore, that's the proposal. Have I a seconder?
Can we just stop other people making a joke out of this? Because this is a sensitive matter to people. We've got councillors laughing and the clerk laughing at this. Is it not a joke? If somebody's come up with a serious proposal, you don't laugh at them on this. It is recorded to members of the public. And I think this is a disgrace that you people are laughing at my face when I've come up with a serious proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Brooke. I think you have got a serious proposal, and therefore I propose to take it on board. You know what you've said. It is a serious matter. It's a serious issue. I think the frivolity was around the process that we're going to getting to that, but I don't think anyone's taking this matter that is frivolous matter in itself is someone waving a memorial bench. And my apologies if I let the meeting go that way, Councillor Brooke. I do apologise. Okay, so the proposal is that we will agree that a plaque will remain no less than 25 years on a bench, unless the bench is moved from beyond our control, and therefore there'll be an alternative bench where you can get put to. And if the members of the public want that to stay on longer than 25 years, they need to get in touch with us at that time when that 25 years is up. There was an amendment proposed by Councillor Brooke that it's the council's responsibility to contact all people who do the benches and make them aware that the 25 years is up. And so therefore we'll take the amendment first. So the amendment is that it's the parish council's responsibility to contact people in 25 years' time if that plaque is becoming up to that time limit. All those in favour of that amendment? And all those against that amendment? Okay, it would seem to me, and we've got one abstention, it would seem to me that that motion has been, the amendment has not been upheld. Okay, so now we'll vote on the substantive motion. It's 25 years and it's up to the people there. It can stay on longer, provided they contact us at that time and say that they want it on to be longer. All those in favour? Okay. Any against? Okay, that's been carried with 1 abstention. Thank you very much indeed for that. And thank you everybody for contributing to that. Okay, the next item is the amount of plaques on a bench. This is something there. So currently we have one person who's wanted 2 plaques on, one for either parent on a bench. My concerns are if it's someone at a later date, so if I have a bench and I put my plaque on for my dad, and then I come 18 months later and next to it is a plaque for someone else's dad. You know, some people may be a little bit put out at that, thinking that their plaque on that bench was for their dad. Yeah. So I think it's worthwhile if we have this policy that it actually mentions on, if we are going to allow multiple plaques on benches, that it states that in the policy. So when people's agreeing to this at the beginning, they know exactly what they're signing up for and they know what they're doing. Yeah. So Councillor Dixon.
I think we should keep it as 1 plaque per bench, but like in this instance where the person there was a father and then the mother sadly passed away, they maybe get a new plaque which includes both of them on the 1 plaque, or maybe a bigger plaque, something like that. So rather than having multiple plaques like for different families, 1 plaque, but if they want to change it, they can do.
Okay, Councillor Brooke.
Yeah, I think the 1 plaque policy is great, but if it's the same, you know, if it's the mother and father of the same family, I think I do understand the point of that. It's, you know, because obviously that bench meant something. Maybe another small plaque at the side of the original plaque is a good idea. I don't know about replacing the full plaque unless, you know, we're going back to them to say it's up to you to cover the cost.
Okay, I mean, anybody else want to contribute? My concerns are, again, you know, you've sort of like, if someone gets there first for the next 25 years, they've bagged the bench, haven't they? And a lot of these benches mean lots and lots to lots and lots of different people. And I'm slightly concerned that someone sort of like, you know, I was here first, and so this is dedicated to my dad. And though lots of other people's dads, parents, loved ones have enjoyed that bench and would like that memorial to be there, because someone else has got there first, it means that, you know, someone else's wishes can't be upheld. I find it difficult. You know, what is the balance? But you know, it strikes it. I think there was Councillor Bellamy. I think you wanted to contribute, didn't you? And then I'll go back to the clerk. Kath? No, you didn't. Sorry. Do apologise. Liz.
We've put in the policy that somebody will choose their bench in conjunction with, was it the maintenance contractor? Yeah, and the clerk. So if they can see that it's already got plaques on it, then it's up to them, isn't it? I think that's where, you know, if they don't want to share it, that's at the point at which they don't choose that particular bench.
I agree with what you're saying, that it's okay going forward. I don't want my plaque to be on with somebody else, but the problem I envisage is someone who's who's already got their plaque on a bench, and then they go along another day and someone else's plaque is on next to them. I think, you know, if you knew that one possibility of that happening before you paid for your plaque, that's one thing. If you didn't think it was a possibility and you've bagged it, you've bagged it. But we may go with if you've got in first, then it's your bench. So Councillor Blacker and Councillor Brooke.
I feel we should stick to one plaque per bench. And I mean, in bearing in mind that we are suggesting that people make a contribution of £50 per year for it. So it comes on with another
it's
plaque.
A one-off.
Another £50.
It's a one-off £50, I believe.
Is that per year?
In the current writing, it says £50 per year.
It does say per year.
Yeah.
So how are we going to enforce that in another 25 years?
Good point.
We just remove it. The
It's not compulsory, is it? It's if they want to. because what we said was we weren't going to make people
Yeah, it's a
pay.
contribution, wasn't it? It was a contribution if
It's
they wanted to.
voluntary
It's
contribution.
a voluntary contribution, and that was just the suggestion, wasn't it?
Right.
So, Councillor Brooke.
Just think
Yeah,
it's a lot of extra work.
I have seen benches where they've had four, one at either corner and like one like two in the middle. So it's like it was evenly spaced out. So I mean, possibly a proposal is that we have up to the amount of 4 badges or plaques on a bench, you know, evenly spaced out. I have seen that. I think there's one in Holme Firth like that, which has nothing to do with the council. It's another bench. It might be up at Digler. I can't remember where I saw it. And it doesn't look disrespectful the way they've done it. So maybe that's where we're looking at it.
That does sound a sensible, you know, what you're saying there is you know, a reasonable number. Councillor Bellamy.
Yes, I agree with Jason on that. I've seen benches where there's been about 4 on, and I think it's one way around it.
I think that's a sensible option. So we have a proposal. Are we making that a proposal?
Yeah.
For evenly spaced out and sort of in a tasteful
manner.
In a tasteful manner.
Mm.
Is that the proposal? So do we have any counter proposals? Mary, did you want to say 1? Is that an amendment to it?
Yes, amendment 1. Yeah, 1 plaque.
I'll second that, please.
So second the amendment. So we'll vote on the amendment first. Yeah. So all those in favour of limiting benches to only... Now, we've already broke this because we have one with 2 on already. So when you say 1, do you mean 1 plaque or 1 family's lots of plaques?
Yeah. I meant 1 plaque.
I just want... That's fine. That's fine.
The rewording.
That's fine. If we have 1 plaque, it's 1 plaque. Is that right? As long as we know what we're voting for. So it's all those in favour of just 1 plaque on a bench. That's 4. All those in... Okay, I think that as an amendment has been carried. Is that right? 4 against... Oh no, it'll be 4 against 4, won't it? And I'll be casting. All those in favour of... all those against that amendment?
4.
4. And I have casting vote. Okay. So with the, you can still vote down the substantive motion. So the motion is that we go with 4. So all those in favour of 4. A limit of 4.
Oh, limited. Oh no.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, too many is that.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah. That's been carried. 4 plaques per bench, no more than. Evenly, respectfully spaced out.
No. Might break it. Might cause it some additional erosion.
Okay.
Can I just correct it as well? Because I've put at number 5, I've said it suggested that £50 per year will support the maintenance of the bench. That's wrong, because we wanted to get away from that, didn't we? We wanted to say the £50 would go to the chairman's charity, nothing to do with the maintenance of the bench. So I changed that.
No, because we didn't want people to say, I pay £50 for that bench and I want that painting every 6 months.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
We want the maintenance to be in accordance with the rest of the benches, and you don't get any special bench privileges for the cost. Thank you all for that. Thank you for your contributions. It was a good debate, and thank you. So the next one is youth work. I think the community is asked to confirm how it wishes to support the development of youth work. Following the meeting on 23rd, where the committee made trust to support the appointment of a full-time youth worker, Clerk approached Councillor Feeney to note the Honey Group have now achieved their target of 10,000 and this has been matched on a 1 community, and they therefore have the finances to reappoint a full-time worker. So that is to note. I believe that
what I was really asking you there was to see if you were happy as a committee that Councillor Feeney acted as a link between the youth services to try and understand it better.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that.
Can I ask you?
Councillor Roberts, you went quiet halfway through your contribution then. Could you repeat what?
Who the link is with?
Well, with the people that applied for the funds for the Honley Youth Club, but then it subsequently appears that Cafe 100 also want to apply for funds. So it's really just to link up with the youth clubs that are existing or about it.
A youth club in Honley and a youth club in Home Firth. And then there's going to be another youth club belonging to the technical college, of which, as far as I can ascertain, they're all going to be joined up together, those. So,
yeah, well, it's just to communicate better so that we know what's going on. So when we're asked for money, we know.
So are we supporting the whole four of them, or are we just supporting one? Because one of them already has sufficient money, haven't they?
Yeah. The concept being, I believe, Councillor Roberts, is that we would have one councillor talking to all the groups, so that knew that they were all what they were all doing, what they're all planning, and we weren't getting duplication of provision and duplication of paying twice for one thing and paying, paying for the same thing twice or three times, and that it was all being, we had a handle on what was happening and what was being funded and what was being delivered, and what was working well, what wasn't working well, what was worth paying towards and what wasn't worth paying towards. And if we had just coming to one councillor to sort of like liaise that, we thought that would be a good idea going forward.
So how many youth groups actually are we funding? So I'm presuming we're funding Honley, and we'll be funding the technical college one and the Cafe 100 one. And what about the one up Dunford Road?
I believe currently we're funding one and only one. Is that right?
We are going to have an application from Cafe 100.
Okay, so has that arrived yet?
The one in the church, belonging to the church, or the Cafe 100 at the technical college?
I haven't had any requests from the technical college for any money.
Because I thought that's what the cafe, it does talk about a Cafe 100 at the technical college, so.
Well, it might be something they're doing as outreach, but it's nothing, hasn't come to us, no.
So we're currently funding one with one in Honley, and we've had no other applications. Councillor Feeney.
I've just been involved really in talking to different groups just to see what their youth provision might be or their wants are, how we as a parish council can support their work. It's not necessarily funding, it might just be liaising work. So for example, I spoke to Margaret at the Tech, and they're thinking of setting up a youth cafe based on a survey from the Sands, but she hasn't asked for any money from the council. I'm going to attend a meeting with her when the detached youth works from Kirklees are going to be there. But it's just a question of linking groups up as well, because I think it is quite important for us to support youth more than we have done up to now. Because up to now it's been quite reactive what we do. We wait for a grant application to come in and then we respond. But if we can be a bit more visible perhaps and supportive of the different youth groups, they can actually then work together. I was speaking to Gabby Hurst from Cafe 100 today, and she was more interested in collaborating with Honley and the Tech than in making numerous requests for money and grants from us. And in the future, we might want to support one initiative more closely or more deeply, and we'll know where we stand if we know what the needs are in different groups in the community. That's what it's for.
So this lady, did they call her Gabby? Did she come? She came.
Gabby first, yeah, same woman.
Came the other week, didn't she, to talk to us about various stuff that was going on. Is it something to do with the technical college?
Oh no, that was that's somebody else. Sarah. That was Sarah, I think, from the Tech.
Is that the community hub idea that you're thinking?
Yes, that sort of idea. Yes, a community hub. So we're as a parish council, we're more visible and supportive of young people in the area, and we know all the initiatives going on, and we can help them liaise with them you know, direct them, maybe have something on our web page to help people know where to go for grants.
And so what's this community hub then? This proposed family hubs? I'm presuming that's to do with...
That's Kirklees Council delivery of earlier support.
Yeah,
also,
it was quite providential that Susan Greenwood was talking today as well. I think there's a lot of goodwill in this COVID position, in the COVID situation, where we realise that young people need extra support going forward with mental health or with, you know, differences in academic progress because of it. So as a parish council, we might be able to help more and be a bit more proactive in the future.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the problem is that Councillor Feeney continues in that liaison role. Councillor Blacker, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to reinforce the things that Councillor Feeney has just said, but also obviously we've had this presentation today from the Kirklees Youth Alliance, who's just setting up, so it's quite timely if we take this initiative at the same time that the Youth Alliance is setting up.
Okay, so do we need? So I suppose the motion is that Councillor Feeney, well, we have one councillor to continue with that liaison for youth, and currently that is Councillor Feeney. So are we okay? You know, that's the proper position. Are we okay with that? All those in favour? Great stuff. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, then this is an item to note, 2021-44 Home Valley minibuses to note the rebate of £8,000 received from West Yorkshire Combined Authority to account for the period when the bus was suspended due to COVID restrictions on public movement. I understand that that'll go back into reserves, will the £8,000 that's not being spent, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, item, that's to note, are we all right with that?
Yeah.
Item 2021-45 dog waste, to note that Christmas cards were sent to all volunteers who fill the dog waste dispensers and thanking them for their help throughout the year, and to note that new dispensers have been erected by the maintenance contractor, and one to replace the vandalised dispensary in Honley at Hassocks Lane, and the other one at Rycroft Lane, which was requested by a resident. Is that just a note? That was been approved before, the payments for that, so it's just a note. Okay, then item 2021-46 phone box, to confirm that the contract for the phone box at Post Office in Towngate, Home First, has been signed, and we await notification that the internal wiring has been removed. Once that has been, we have notification of that, then it is our phone box, I believe. Is that right, Clerk?
Yeah.
Sorry, Liz.
We've signed the contract, but we're just waiting for them to take all the gubbins out.
Okay. So at that point, it has been suggested, I mean, we as Service Provision Users have responsibility for phone boxes, but it has been suggested that the Climate Emergency Committee would like to express an interest to take that on board as an information centre for their work that they're doing. I think that's a good idea. The least thing I would like is that nothing happens to it, because then it just becomes an out-of-hours toilet when the other toilet's closed, isn't it? So if it gets put into use and someone's making use of it, then I think that's a good thing going forward. Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, I'm happy for. I'd like to propose that the Climate Emergency Committee take it on and use it as their hub if they want to do that. It's fine by me. Okay, have we got a second of that? Bernard, thank you very much. All those in favour? Great stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, and then we move on to defibrillators. Report from the clerk is appended and intended to summarise where the defibrillators are currently placed. I think we had a good presentation, didn't we, from, was it Joanne?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, I remembered, and that's over an hour since. Yeah. So I think that was a really good presentation and really informed us and made me feel a lot better and made me more comfortable about where we are with the defibrillators. It was very, very good, as well as Judith's good contribution there. So I think this is just a note, really, isn't it? I don't think we've any action, have we, going forward?
No.
With the defibrillators, we know where we are with them, and that's where we are. Then, so that's just a note. And then we come to CCTV. I think we've had the debate on the CCTV, haven't we? That regarding Home First, we need to have a proper discussion in a working group about where we are and what we're going to support going forward. And we wait for Honley to come back with their application, their grant application. So I think that was discussed earlier, almost 2021-48. Then item 2021-50, bear with us, we're not long to go. To consider a request from Kirklees for the contribution of 50% of the cost of replacing 3 bins in Home Firth. The Kirklees Active Citizens Places Officers requested a contribution from the parish council, I'm guessing, toward the replacement of 3 litter bins in Holme Firth that had been found unacceptably dilapidated. The committee has considered whether it will contribute £202. First of all, what I'd ask is, do we have a budget? If we don't have a budget, it's a very easy answer, isn't it? Do we have a budget for waste bins?
No.
We don't have a budget. So I think that's a very simple answer we can go back with. But I'm quite happy to open it up to anybody else if you'd like to contribute. These are Kirklees bins that Kirklees put in the first place, am I right?
I think we shared the cost originally.
Oh, did we?
Mm.
That makes it a bit more difficult, doesn't it? Anybody like to contribute? Councillor Brooke.
Yeah, regarding that, I mean, I know we haven't got a set budget as such, but we could use it out of reserves if we wanted to agree, you know, a contribution £202 from that. You know, if you've got or from via another budget. So
we could ask full council if we could make a fireman.
From where?
To where?
From where to where? Yes.
Well, there should be something for these sorts of things because they're going to come up again and again, I think.
It could go on the cask as a cask budget as a community asset.
No.
Yes, you can.
Well, off you go then.
Well, I like spending other people's budgets, but they don't like it when I do it to them. I don't think it's really for this committee to tell someone else how their budget is being spent. It's come to this committee, so I think we need to decide here where we're going to get the budget from for it if we want to fund this.
Well, it came to that committee first, didn't it? So it should come out of that committee.
No, it didn't come from cask. It just came from the Kirklees Council.
All right.
It came right from Kirklees Council to us. Tom.
You don't mind, I'm going to leave you now. So.
Thank you for your contribution, Councillor Roberts. Okay. Appreciated.
Speak to you all later.
Bye now.
Bye, Kath.
Bye.
I think these must have been special bins if we had arranged for them or paid for them originally. So there must be a reason why we're giving them money to pay for them before. And
I think
we've just been £202, and it's probably like a payment we have to do now, which might probably last about 10 years up where these bins all last for. I'm happy to go ahead with it, and I think we could use environment. Like we've still got money from the minibus, like that money we've had back. So we've got quite a bit of money in reserves. So I suggest we pay for them and just do it.
So you're suggesting that the £8,000 from that we noted that was coming from via £202 from the minibus budget, some creative accounting here, into a bin budget that we're just creating on a whim to pay for these bins. Councillor Brooke.
Why don't we sort it for next year and put it something you want to create a budget heading for bins?
Councillor Brooke, and then I'll come back to the clerk. I'm quite happy for the councillors to contribute first, actually. Sorry, Liz.
Yeah, we do have a dog waste policy. Could we not say it's for dog waste policy and put it into that budget?
Dog waste, stroke waste budget.
Yeah. It's only a rewording of the the bracket, isn't it? You know, it's we could just call it a waste budget, which covers dog waste and that, and then it does cover this item.
The dog waste. Sorry, Liz. Is there any money left in the dog waste budget?
I don't think there is actually. I think we're overspent.
We've overspent.
Yeah.
So we could possibly via somebody back, via the full council, into the waste, which is what's called dog waste budget at the moment, to cover this cost and do it like that. So we don't have to create a new category. We're just renaming a category from dog waste to waste.
Very creative, Councillor Buck. I'm glad you're not doing my accounts.
Shall I take it back and discuss it with the RFO, and then?
I think we need some input from the RFO here. I think we are because we funded these bins in the first place. I think we're minded to help out and refund them again. However, we don't have a budget, and having this dropped as a short notice doesn't really help us. I think is the feedback to Kirklees in the first instance, saying that we you know, it's difficult for us to just create a budget out of thin air to go and support something like this, and a little bit of notice going forward would have helped. But yeah, if you can go to the RFO and ask if they can. I'm quite happy to via wherever we can, and no, I'm quite happy to do Councillor Brooks' creative accounting there. Environment is quite an option. I think that's there, but I'd like the RFO to be completely on board with what we were doing and making sure we're okay with that.
Yeah, don't you worry. He wouldn't do it if he wasn't.
Well, that exactly. You know, is everybody okay with that proposal going forward? Great stuff. Great stuff. Thank you very much. And then we get to note letter of thanks from Honley Business Association for the £1,000 towards the Christmas lights. To note a letter of thanks from Home Valley Transport for the grant of £2,000, which agreed in September. And to note the Scholes Methodist Church Christmas tree. Okie doke. We just have one complaint from a member of the public. It was that there's been complaints of a member of the public about the overflowing bins at Digley and Ramsden's Reservoir. These bins are emptied by Kirklees on council on behalf of Yorkshire Water about once a week. And once a week is not sufficient to deal with. The complaint was once a week is not sufficient to deal with the amount of waste that was there. The problem has been caused over the Christmas holidays and more people walking locally due to the COVID lockdown. The clerk has spoken to Yorkshire Water and Kirklees office to alert them to this problem, and they've agreed to do what they can to address the matter, and the clerk has updated the member of the public that complained. So I believe that, I don't think there's any further to do with that complaint, and it's just a note. Councillor Bellamy?
Yes, I had a phone call from the who complained.
Yep.
And it's Tim Walshaw, and he wants, and he's dealing with it.
Okay, so it's Tim. Okay,
it says Parish Council can forget about it now, but he wants the Parish Council to know who's dealing with it.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Dixon?
Generally seems to happen in the summer. Like it definitely happens at Cliff Wreck, where you get the bins overflowing after a couple of weeks, and then they come and empty them. It's just difficult. The only thing I was going to mention is could we possibly inquire about getting a litter bin at Scholes, near where the poo bag dispenser is? One thing my brother has noticed, my brother's filling up the poo bag dispenser in Scholes, and I went and filled it up the first time, and when I went up there, some people were putting filled poo bags inside the poo bag dispensers. So people are misunderstanding that the dispensers are for getting the bags out and not for putting poo in. Yeah. And we had a similar incident in Hepworth once where somebody put a bag with a nappy in, and it was left in there for a while, and it was disgusting. Anyway, with Hepworth, there's a bin just right next to it. So I don't know why they put the nappy bag in that thing anyway. But in Scholes, there's no bin there, so could we inquire with Kirklees about getting a bin near to the dispenser in Scholes as well? But yeah, in general, these bins just get overflowed because there's that many people who go there. It's good that people are using the bins, but if the bins are full, they should just take it home with them. It's really annoying, isn't it?
It is, but it's not our well. I think the clerk's done. You know, the clerk's chased it up, and it seems like the complainant is chasing it up with the relevant authorities as well. So that's good to know that that a member of the community is taking it on board and running with it. I'm quite happy to say that. So. Is that okay? Have we anything else to do with anyone on bins? I think that gets to the close of the meeting. I'm sorry I've overrun. Everything I made up on the F&M I've lost tonight. I'm sorry, people. Anyway, but thanks a lot for coming to the meeting. Thanks all for everybody's contribution. I really appreciate it. And have a good weekend. Well, have a good week, everybody.
Thank you to you. Thank you to you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now. Bye.
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 Bye.